Good evening. Welcome to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at diabloii.net. I can almost say that without hesitating now. I am joined on the show tonight by N3rdwards.
Hello.
And by Asmodeus.
Hello.
Also known as Aahz.
Sure, sounds good.
Or possibly Aahz.
Aahz is probably best, but, whatever.
And ironically, you do not play a wizard.
Not this season. That was last season.
One of our guests does, though. You have said you've been playing a Crusader. Aahz.
Yeah, I'm the one.
Did you lose a bet?
No, I just decided I want to try out the new Roland's set when they started talking about it, so I've been a Roland's Crusader for the season.
Yeah, you emailed me earlier about the podcast and mentioned you were playing a Crusader, and I felt like someone had reported a death in the family. I'm like, oh, God, I'm so sorry for you. Oh, wait, that's on purpose.
I know you guys have been, saying in the last few podcasts that nobody plays a Crusader. I'm like, oh, gosh, I better volunteer and, carry the flag.
Awesome. So the best part about playing Crusader this season is that when you cleared a GR21 this week, and you're actually number 13 on the entire ladder just with that. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You were like, wow, almost the top 10, man.
Yeah, I noticed a clanmate, Barb, cleared a 44. Didn't even get him on the leaderboards. So, yeah, it's a lot different number of players, I'm sure.
So, do you have any Crusader jokes you want to get in here, N3rdwards, or can we move on?
No, I actually want to play the Roland set, too.
Well, wait for next season when they finally get some new sets and stuff. So
yeah,
we're going to talk about that in a minute here. The new news and the data mining of the patch that's probably coming on Tuesday, which should be the day after this is posted, with any luck. I should probably not wait a day to post this again for everybody, because then last week I did a podcast on Sunday, and then suddenly Monday morning it's like, hey, giant patch 2.30 preview. It's like, oh, God damn it.
Yep.
So whenever you do a big podcast and save it for a day, Blizzard will always rush out content. They monitor our communications and they know what's going on. Say yes.
Yes.
They could have a big release on Monday too if they're going to put it up in advance of the Tuesday patch.
Speaking of big releases, have either of you guys gotten gay married this week?
No.
Not this week. My wife would frown on that, I think.
Well,
maybe
you get one of
week.
each. Right? I mean, admittedly, I'm not a real Supreme Court junkie. I didn't read the fine print, but my understanding was that you get one of each. Can you not marry a man as well now, Asmodeus?
No, actually the rule is now everyone has to divorce their heterosexual wives, and they have to marry a man or woman.
If you marry a homosexual woman, is that okay?
Yes.
Well, that's pretty much what all marriages turn into after 10 years anyway, right? But So I was understanding that you got to marry one of each, and Jay was in town last weekend, visiting quickly, and one thing led to another, and we're gonna have an awkward conversation later on, I guess.
Well, congratulations. That's very nice.
Yeah, hopefully Mr. Morheim will understand.
As long as it's in California, it'll hold up.
I'm in Oregon, so it's even worse here.
That's right.
You actually get to marry 2 men, 1 woman, and a marijuana plant. So. One other random topic here. If anybody hears background noise on my end, I'm running an air conditioner about 3 feet from me, and I'm still sitting here sweating because it's hotter than Godzilla's asshole in Oregon lately.
Holy cow.
So,
it's been mild
if
here.
anybody has an objection, you can direct it to Mothra. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear your complaint. You guys live in states where it gets hot as hell in the summer, but it's always hot as hell, so you have air conditioning, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Most of the time when it's working.
Well, when you have electricity, right?
Well, no, I feel like at least down here, every year air conditioning goes out somewhere, either car, home, or work, at least once in all 3 of those during the summer.
Well, the summer's young yet.
Yeah, I've already not had not had air at my house and at work, so I just need my car to go out now.
Well, then you're almost home free though.
Yeah,
it's like playing Crusader and you've cleared GR30. It's all gravy from here.
There. Yeah, I'm right on the cusp.
You're the top 10. Yeah, Oregon is wonderful because it's never hot in the summer, and when it's hot, it's never humid. So almost nobody has AC in their private dwellings and apartments. But this year it's been hot and humid, so pretty much as I said, Godzilla's asshole. So there you go. So what have you been up to lately, N3rdwards? You were on the podcast in a couple of weeks. You're still playing a wizard. Are you in the GR 1100? Are you in the Blood Shards 1100 club yet, or have you stopped showering entirely, as would be appropriate for a filthy casual?
Nope, still just farming. I had some real life stuff come up. My brother got married last weekend, so I was out of town for a week. And when I got back in town, I was just farming keys like I normally do. Just waiting for the end.
Did he marry a man or a woman?
It was a woman, and it was right before. It's actually funny you bring all that up.
Yeah, you said it was last week, so I guess yeah.
Right, yeah, it was right before. It was literally like a couple days before they made the announcement, whatever. But they.
If only he'd known, he could have waited.
Well, in Alabama, they're pulling I live in Alabama, unfortunately, which is a terrible state, and they are because they're so upset about the ruling that there's a lot of like district courts and stuff that are just not giving out any marriage license now, like instead of having to do gay marriages, which is
no wedding for you.
Yeah, dude, it's like super messed up. My brother
have they tried holding their breath and pounding their feet on the floor? Will that help as well?
Right. Yeah, my brother got in the nick of time, but no, I mean I'm sure it'll get worked out. Just like really stupid situations happening in red states right now.
No, I'm sure I'm sure if they just hold their breath, a little longer, it'll help.
Oh,
Mitt Romney will reverse all this in 19 months, right? So,
yes. There's no place like home.
And Sarah Palin will ride in on a white horse and make it all better. So for Diablo stuff, so you haven't had much time to play, being a little wizard. I haven't had much time to play. We should let Aahz talk since we've been insulting his Crusader for 15 minutes. So how is your Crusader going? Is it fun? What classes were you playing recently, and what are your goals for the rest of the season, Aahz?
I played Wizard in Season 2, Crusader in Season 3. Today I cleared 45. I did pretty well on it, but I failed a 47 right before the show. Did it in like 17:30. So I need to...
Are you playing a hardcore or softcore?
Hardcore.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well,
so you must be like number 7 on the ladder.
102, I think, for the 45.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, not bad. I think I need to swap out some diamonds for rubies. I did switch my belt. I was using String of Ears, but the Thunder Gods with the sweep attack is much better, much more damage, so that really helped.
And how would a 45 do on the softcore wizard ladder, NerdWards? That'd be like the top 100, right?
No, not it.
Top 100,000?
Close. Wouldn't even be close. No. Well, probably. I would imagine
is...
top 100,000. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure.
Maybe
I don't know their numbers. I'd be shocked if there's that many wizards playing.
So what brought on your whole wizard splurge here, Aahz? You kind of you knew they were getting a new set next season and buffs, right? I mean, like I was considering playing a Witch Doctor and I put it off because next season it's like, oh, they're gonna be awesome next season. And little did I know, the Kanai's cube makes them really awesome. So
yeah, no, I just been rotating characters with seasons. First season I played a Witch Doctor, and then Wizard Season 2. So I don't know that I have any rhyme or reason. I'm not sure what I'll go to the next season. I may stay with Crusader. I don't know. It's been pretty fun, and lots of different builds that you can use. So
the game we played on last week's podcast was asking, what 3 items would you immediately stick in your Kanai's cube if you had one now? So why don't you go ahead, Aahz? You playing Crusader?
Sure.
Could you immediately just massively increase your Greater Rift run with what you put, Unity, and it's all defense, right? Because you're softcore. Well, so you want Ice Climbers and Unity and something else, right?
Actually, sort of. I mean, to me, illusory boots sounds like it would be really good for hardcore because there's a lot of times where you get walled in and trapped with a bunch of enemies around you. So that might be a nice escape skill to have all the time. Jewelry, probably Rorg, but if not, maybe the Oculus Ring. It's got that nice 40% buff, and it's hard to fit into a normal build, but to have it as an additional one, that could work for damage. Weapon, probably Furnace. If you found a golden flints, and then you could have the Furnace bonus too. So
you would take an Oculus Ring over a Convention of Elements or something like that?
I'm using the Convention of Elements, and those always
roll. I guess that'll be an issue.
Yeah, those roll so well that you're probably gonna be wearing that one. Whereas the Oculus Ring, you just want the one legendary buff on it, and it's hard to get a good roll besides it.
I haven't really used that. I mean, I've tried it on my Merc. It doesn't proc very often, but does it proc often enough using it yourself? Have you actually tried it?
I have. Well, I've tried it.
And then can you actually stand in the tiny little circle of light and do anything?
Yeah, I've tried it in groups. It works pretty well in groups because anybody can proc it as long as one person is wearing it. As far as staying in the circle, that would be another thing where the illusory boots would help. But no, generally speaking, I can't. I hope somebody can. I hope whoever procs it, like if the Wizard or Witch Doctor or Demon Hunter's way back, that they can stand in it where they procced it, and get the damage buff.
Yeah, it's tough with the DH. If you're doing Natalia's set, it's kind of hard to stand in a circle at this point, but maybe you'll get a UE Wizard.
You can just kind of strafe through it and get the bonus for that, 0.5 seconds that you're in it.
Well, if you can time your Reign of Vengeance to that click, you get a 12 billion click crit or something, right? So same game for you, NerdWards. We were aiming about this a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could talk, if you have the Kanai's cube right now, what would you do with your Wizard?
Oh man, there's so much. I'm so ready for this because I want to play with it. It opens up so many options and so many things you can do. The illusory boots, like you were saying, like that's just not something that I would have even thought of. But that's actually a really cool idea. I've been reading a lot of stuff on the forums because there's already brainstorming and stuff going on. And for me,
like the big thing is that Travis Day did a Reddit like Q&A, and during his Reddit Q&A he said that anything that, and this is a quote from Travis Day, anything that goes in your main hand or offhand is part of the weapon category for the purposes of the cube. Now mind you, don't know if that's going to stay or whatever, but based on that I would roll a Triumvirate into the weapon slot to get the bonus to Frozen Orb, and then I mean that's something you can do. It's really cool. There's a lot of they're revamping the Chantoto set, so you could roll those items now. But now, as far as jewelry goes, I'd probably roll an immunity amulet, because that's just not something that I get the choice of having usually in softcore. You got to have that damage to be able to compete at the high level. But if you could add that to it and still have a damage, amulet on, would be really cool. And then,
do you think an immunity amulet is better than Unity? I mean, because Unity obviously helps you with every element.
And also there's something else that I think there's a lot of posts. I think people are confused, or maybe I'm just confused. But based on what I've read about it, it's the legendary property, right? That's what gets taken in by the cube. Well, like for instance with the furnace, that's not a legendary property. That's just a property. It's not in orange text. It's just a property that rolls inherently on the item, but it's not an actual.
I think it is an orange text. The elite damage.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, the elite damage. I didn't know if that was.
I think I should check that. Yeah, 40 to 50% elite damage.
Okay, so it is. Well, then that would be a no-brainer. Then obviously most people are probably going to want that too. But there is also the Aether Walker wand just to have teleport be able to be spammed no matter what for a wizard, or Serpent Sparker wand to have just double Hydra all the time no matter what weapon you're using. You could then actually hold a furnace. Like basically with this, you could have a Ring Royal Grandeur and a Serpent Sparker in your cube, roll a furnace, and still have your 6-piece set bonus. And dude, the damage from that would be absurd. There's just a lot. Yeah, it's gonna show some significant power creep, but I'm really curious to see how with the difficulty balancing and stuff how it plays out. I want to get my hands on this.
And one of the cool things about putting a Rourg in is it basically gives you another armor slot too. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like you get 4 items.
Now everyone can roll focus and restraint. now everyone's going to roll focus and restraint, and you'll have the legendary property that you're missing in your cube.
Or some of us are already using focus restraint, so a lot of people are already doing FR, and then they have the whole 6-piece set on.
Mm-hmm. So I bounce between it. It's just so powerful, man. It's so powerful.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what I'll do on the ring property. I mean, it's like, Unity for hardcore is like, 50% damage reduction always. It's like, that makes it, that's like 5 greater rift levels right there, pretty much.
Well, like my first go-to was Eye of It Lich. But in looking at it, that's not an orange property. That's just the ranged damage reduction or whatever. That's not an actual legendary property. So like I had to rethink how I was thinking about it, because I was like, oh wait, that's not. Same with Cindercoat. Like Cindercoat, you would get the reduced resource cost reduction, but you wouldn't get the fire damage probably.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and same with like Mage Fist.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm curious to get my hands on it to play with it and see what's actually enabled and clicked on and clicked off and stuff.
Well, they did say that Ancestor's Grace Amulet is not. That we had about 5 minutes on the podcast last time joking about that. If it would make the whole cube break or something, and they just said no, you don't get to use it. Yeah, Ancestor's Grace, if people didn't hear it, it's an amulet that grants 1 resurrection upon death, but it destroys the amulet. Mm-hmm. So we were wondering if hardcore you could like save up 5 of those and just like feed them in like lifesavers. Lifesavers being the double joke there, right? But you could just keep putting a new one in every time you died. Hey, I'm immortal, and then they said no, you can't use that at all.
It'd be like finding an extra life, from the old games in the 80s. No, you got another life.
You got that green mushroom, man.
Of course, the funny thing, Demon Hunters have one of their cloaks gives you the same property as your death saving passive with a 120-second cooldown. Mm-hmm. So in theory, you'd get 2 of those. I'm not sure what the icon would show. Like, would it show both of them?
Right.
And I guess you could just totally take out the passive. The passive only has a 60-second cooldown, though, so it'll be twice as long a wait if you're trying to wait it out in a Greater Rift or something. But
yeah.
Or you could double. You'd be like a Crusader or the other classes that have 2 of those. Oh, but who knows if it would be? But it's the same property, just a different cooldown. So how would they even display that?
Right.
Would you trust that with your hardcore Demon Hunter? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't work at all. I guess that's what the PTR is for, right?
Right, so. Yeah, that's the thing with a lot of the data mining and stuff like that. There's a lot of strings in here, man, and they all look really cool and really promising, but I'm trying to not get too excited till I get my hands on it and play with it, because it's gonna shift and change so much. It's important to go into this with that kind of mindset. Please, everyone who's reading this and listening, you got to.
And I'm sure over the course of the PTR, I'm wondering if there's going to be some really weird interactions people find. Like, remember that thing just recently where you could be immortal with a Rogar's huge ring stone and some boots and the one legendary gem that regens.
Right.
Like, people figured out how you could become immortal with that. If you got really low on hit points, it would restore like 1 billion hit points a second. Yeah. Like, I'm wondering if people are going to find something like that. Like, suddenly you can get 4 more legendary properties. And the one, obviously the class that seems like the most benefit from it is the Witch Doctor, because Witch Doctors are totally bottlenecked by their helms right now.
Right.
Because like every cool Witch Doctor build requires a different helm, and now you can get 2 helm properties suddenly. So
well, this is a cool idea because it fixes so many problems, or at least adjusts. So I mean, obviously we think it fixes things. It's a really cool idea to get all these powers, but we'll see what kind of problems come out of it.
Yeah, it looks like just having 2 helms immediately doubles the damage of Witch Doctors.
Yeah.
Because they have the one that gives them, it makes massive damage buff to your minions, and they have one that makes their the poison, the darts piercing, and like makes them shoot a poison dart when you do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they can instantly get both of those at once. Currently, you have to choose, and it's like that seems like Witch Doctors are kind of lagging back behind with Crusaders in terms of they don't have the DPS output.
Yeah.
And suddenly, but of course, the other big change in the patch, or one of the other big changes, is that they're gonna remove the permanent CC stuff on monsters.
Yeah.
Which is what you see people in 3 and 4 player rifts just completely abusing, just mercilessly. Getting GR 75s and stuff now, because not a single monster hits you the entire game, right? So
it's funny.
It seems to me like the cube of Kanai is going to cause a big jump in single player clears, and probably we might actually get a decrease in multiplayer clears. Although, who can predict with 12 more legendary affixes in a 4-player game? I mean,
yeah, exactly, and that plus, that plus them rescaling everything too. I mean, it's probably still going to go up in Group 2 because that with the power creep going up, yeah, sure, everything's not going to be locked down, but that might lead to higher clears through actual just killing things.
Yeah.
What do you predict for Greater Rifts, Aahz? Is it going to go up or down?
Up.
Yeah, it's got to go up.
For 4-player as well, or just single?
Yeah, good question, but I'm going to say up anyway. It just seems like there's too much more options with your build. You're going to be able to get, like, I wish I could choose this or this, and now you can have both. And it seems like that'll be a big damage boost, and people will figure out how to get the defense in, because they're putting defense in to some of these sets. Like the Crusader set is 50% damage reduction after you cast Falling Sword.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, and then the monks got the bracers. So they're working the unity thing in to items basically from all that.
Well, they did that with the last sets too, because like the Tal Rasha set gives you the boost to resistances, and they've done that with all the reworked sets because they've learned, I guess, that whereas damage is really good, you got to have that powerful defensive mechanism too.
So could you estimate, I mean, obviously we can't estimate how much GRs are going to change exactly because they're changing a lot of the basic rules of combat and stuff.
I mean, we can.
If you could just plug this into your set right now, what would it have? If you had the Kanai's Cube right now with no other game changes in the game, how much would you go up, N3rdwards? Could you hit
how
60?
Much? Oh,
5?
I should be able to hit that.
You've done
now.
51 now? I mean, for listeners, you've done 51 or 50 right now?
I've done 53 now, but I still haven't pushed really. That was just, I got a high roll and did it, and I one-shotted it. So I was like, okay, I keep doing the 50s. I'm still, like I said, slow rolling and saving them.
So if you had the 3 Kanai's Cube bonuses, would you go up to 60?
I would imagine, but again, with the build I'm running right now, 60's been cleared. So if I couldn't do that, then I would feel like a failure. But no, I as far as group and stuff goes, like what's highest group right now? Is it 72, 73?
74 was the last
74. Okay, so if it's 74, I estimate that it'd be 85 to 90 at the end of this patch group play.
Wow.
It seems crazy, but if they're really bringing down, I mean, just based on, obviously this is all speculation, so don't blow me up for it, but I feel like with them smoothing things out, if the Rift Guardian won't take as long, and all this damage creep, if you had, like you said, 12 extra affixes in the game, who knows what's going to come out of that, what kind of combinations you're going to get.
That'll be interesting to see.
I mean, and we jumped up another 10 levels.
Soon.
We jumped up like 10, 15 levels, actually 20 levels this one, because 40 to 45 was, top of the leaderboard last season. This season, that's nowhere close. It's like, in the 60s.
Yeah, there's no way I would have expected to be able to do a 45 in hardcore last season.
Right,
like I said, I finished a 47. I had a potion a couple times, but just didn't finish it in time. And I wouldn't have come close to stepping into that in Season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Now the power creep is real, and it's getting more real. So, and new sets. We'll get to the whole new item data mining on the new sets in a second. But a couple of other things here. The no more Rift keys thing. I mean, we got the interface for that. We don't quite know how it's going to work. They've said your old Rift keys aren't going to be totally useless, and you can still use the Rift stones at some point. Because I was wondering, should I be burning up all of my stacks of Rift keys or whatever?
Right.
Because I'm going to play Season 4, so who cares, right? But I mean, at the same time, it's like, are these kids going to be garbage? And they said no. But the thing I was wondering, I mean, you can do, most people now can do, GR 40, 45, whatever, in like 2 minutes.
Right.
And of course, it takes you like a minute and a half to get that rift key in the first place. Going doing the wave of trials. So that kind of lessens out some of the massive increase that is in quality over a T6. But if you can just plug in and just do GR40s, every second it ends, you're in another one, and you're getting like 4 to 6 legendaries every time, and plus that gigantic experience. Are they going to have to like nerf all of the rewards on GRs once we can just do them instantaneously?
No, I don't think so. I don't.
You don't think it's going to be OP?
I don't think so at all. I mean, I don't see why it would be. I mean, if you can clear the content, you can clear the content. I mean, it's just you're running. I mean, for all we know,
but currently you've got to waste like a minute and a half to get in there in the first place, right?
Right. So. But the idea is they don't want us wasting that time. They'd rather have us playing the game. That's the whole iteration of Reaper of Souls. Was they want us spending time killing monsters, not spending time, testing ourselves to try to kill monsters at a higher difficulty. Like it's like. They obviously took it away now obviously we're going to iterate on it and test it out on the PTR and see how it works out, but I don't, like if I get the way I foresee it working is that you're going to get a Greater Rift token, and that Greater Rift token will just be a universal token, no level attached to it, no nothing, it's just going to be a token, you plug into you do your Greater Rift 1, well I cleared it in 5 minutes, so then now I can do up to Greater Rift 11, right, but I can choose if I want to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then whatever I clear then it extends what I can do, but I can still use that key if I clear the rift to do whatever rift I want. And I don't see that being a problem at all. I mean, now it does feasibly seem that you can have one key and keep doing 40s over and over again as long as you're clearing it on time, which might seem ridiculous, but at the same time, like, if you're going to be farming it anyways, I don't see the hurt in cutting off a minute and a half on a trial.
Yeah, the thing I wonder about it is if, I keep assuming that we'll have to do T6 stuff, or I guess T10 now. Maybe you get 2 rift keys on T10.
Well, and that's the thing. T10 may be Greater Rift 40 level. That may be in that range. We don't know.
But that's not. I hope it's higher. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I was doing a bunch of. I mean, when you do Wave of Trials now, it's hard to get certain levels of keys because you just jump by 6.
Mm-hmm.
So like you get what is it? 1, 7, 13, 19. 25. I'm blanking on the numbers already. It's very easy to get 34s or 40 keys, but it's hard to get like a 36. You have to like go really slow on one of them. But you can instantly get 34s, or then you can get lots of 40 keys, and it's hard to do like 37s or whatever. But you can clear, a GR40 in 2 minutes if you have good gear, and you get like 10 times the value of doing a T6 rift, which actually takes longer because you don't get such density. You don't get the progress orbs.
Right.
I mean, you can do GR40s. I can do even with my Demon Hunter with her crappy. I died and can't get Ancients to replace anything because Kadala sucks. Sorry, Jadala sucks. I can still do GR37 or 40 much faster than T6 most times because you just get more density and better spawns.
Right.
But it's like 4 times as rewarding. So it seems like the way they've balanced the game, people are going to be hitting like Paragon 800 in like a week.
I've heard
they could just do endless GR50s, right?
Like they already did. I mean, that's the only thing is that you're saying.
But without botting, I mean.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even have to be botting. Like, basically what you're saying is that, like, I've run nothing but Greater Rift 50s for the past month, probably. That's all I've done is I've got, like, 40-something keys just saved up that I just keep running one every so often. If I didn't have to spend, a week of my life leveling those keys up, I'm not going to bitch about that. That's amazing. Like, that's a great thing. I don't see that as overpowered or broken at all. I feel like that's a necessary change because now I can do the content and not just the test for the content.
I've heard speculation
I figure they have some sense of how long this stuff should take and how much value it should have.
Yeah.
Like they've kind of Greater Rifts versus what T6 is worth. And one of the things when you clear really fast rifts, of course, is your key goes up 8 or 10 levels, Mm-hmm. So then you can't just... If you could keep using the same key over and over again and do 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, instead of doing, 37 and then it's a 46 key and it's useless unless you're really well geared. Or if you do your 50 in 5 minutes and it's going to be, it's going to have 57 key and you can't do a 57 key fast enough to be worth it, right?
Right, right. What do you think, Aahz?
Anyway, you want to jump in there, Aahz, I think?
Well, I was just saying that I heard speculation that T10 will be 50. That was on...
I would hope so.
Another podcast but I haven't seen it in print yet, so...
Yeah, I'm curious.
That seems like it's about the right level, I would think.
Yeah, that was last week on the podcast. We were wondering if T7 through T10 would jump up more than 3 Greater Rifts apiece. Because otherwise, T10 is just GR37, and that's not a big deal for many people if they have good gear.
Yeah, considering where we think the power creep is going, it's going to have to be, 50-ish seems a lot better than whatever, 40 or even, so.
So you think it'll be currently GR25 is equivalent to T6. So will T7 be like GR30? Is it going to be like 30, 35, 40, 45 or something? Or you're saying it's going to jump even more than that?
Yeah.
So it'll be like
levels, right? And then
it has to be like 7 levels apiece to
so.
go 25 to 50.
Yeah, but they've also done that with the scaling of like Legendary Find. It didn't just go up 100% each time. It scaled up higher and higher the harder the difficulty went. It's not unfeasible, but I don't know.
Yeah, and who knows what they've got planned out. Once they start iterating on the PTR, they may adjust that. But I would think it'd be about like every, 4
I think it's awesome. Like, I think it's really cool. This is like, we've had this conversation a couple times on the podcast, like waiting on news to come down, and like the conversation is always, should there be more torment levels? And I'm still of the opinion that you don't with this system. That's why I'm so curious as to why they implemented both at the same time. But I also don't hate it. I don't think it's a problem at all. I feel like them adding in the Greater Rift drop-down menu, like, kind of alleviates the need for a Torment 7, 8, 9, 10, because you can just pick your difficulty, of Rift anyways. But that said, though, I'm really curious to see how it plays out and how it's going to work out. I'm sure they've got a good system for it because, they keep just making the systems better, and we've got a lot of time to test it, too. So I'm curious to see how it'll play out. But I'm confident it's going to be awesome because I don't want to do trials anymore.
I think the power creep from Kanai's cube and their internal testing must be just insane. So they're like, we got to go up higher than T6. It's already ridiculous if you're well-geared.
Probably so. That would make sense.
T6 is ridiculous now.
It is.
If you're well-geared, it's just, it's an absolute speed
run.
Well,
I was of the opinion of just stretching the difficulties a little bit further, but that would be, they said they wouldn't want to do that anyways because they didn't want someone to, that whole log in and can't do the content they did before thing, but...
Yeah, that would be confusing to people, though.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You don't play for a month, and you get on and you turn to a T6, and it's 5 times harder than it used to be.
Right,
that'd be a problem.
That's way less confusing than a cube that disenchants legendary powers into it and can store infinite numbers and equip one of each type.
There'll be a tooltip for that, though.
Right, yeah, I know,
Only if you go into the options menu and enable advanced.
yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Oh, no, I'm excited.
So,
I think...
What else do you guys think is going to change with, the T7 to T10? Obviously, currently you get 50%, Keywarden drops. Of course, that's not going to be the case. You're going to get you're going to get machines dropped directly by Keywardens.
Right.
So is that 100% on T10 and it's 50% on T6? Are we going to rescale that stuff?
I would say probably so to balance. It's kind of like that post you made about, does this mean it's going to be 4 times the amount, 4 times as fast farming? Well, if they, make it to where T6 is 50% and 60% and T10 is 100%, then no, not necessarily, because you're not going to get it 100% of the time at T7 or T8. So, you'll still get the, the machine instead of having to farm all the keys and then the machines, but it's still, it would... Unless
you can run T10, and then in which case it will be 4 times as fast for farming.
For sure. But I would imagine to be at T10, you're going to have like a really good set of stuff in your cube, your full set of you have to be where you're at now plus a really good set of stuff in your cube and a lot of ancients to be able to run T10. I'm hoping that's
assuming it's not just GR37, in which case we can do it right now. So
yeah, it's true. This is true.
I don't even switch gear to
all of this is
I don't switch gear to go
for those.
Yeah, I do T6 or GR35 in the same gear. So if I go higher, I have to put a little more defense on in hardcore. But GR37 is not harder than T6.
Oh yeah, no, not really. At some point,
even in hardcore, imagine in softcore. So if there was T10 right now, Aahz, what would you be playing? Would you be doing T10? Would you be doing T8? I guess it depends on what the benefits are to going up 2 more levels, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't do 10. If 10 is going to be 50, then I would probably be stopping around the 40 range. So put me down for 8. And I assume it's going to be like the old days of Monster Power, where it was actually pretty good gear. You could do like MP5, but MP10 you did a really good year,
right? Yeah,
and then not worrying about dying. So
I actually got really lazy this season, and I have an alternate Crusader to run the T6 rifts, and then I got a different one for greater rifts. So I have to switch their equipment around. And like the T6 one, I have a gem of ease in my weapon just to kind of try to get some more experience, when I have to run through there. So I like a system where no, I just want to keep my powerful guy for both. But on the other hand, that Boon of the Hoarder with Avarice Band, it really bumps up the defense too, as long as you get some kills and can pick up the gold. So T10 might be possible even in that gear in hardcore if you're worried about defense.
That's a fascinating point I didn't even think about, is that opening up T10 will allow you to use items that you couldn't use in those Greater Rift difficulties, like the Harrington's Waist Guard and the Avarice Band, or those kind of items that kind of boosted you off of drops that fell on the ground or clickables and stuff. That you'll be able to use those into a higher difficulty, which would be cool because a Harrington Waist Guard would probably help you get to T10.
And, of course, you have 3 more legendary properties to throw in there, too.
Right, so exactly.
You're not wasting your belt
slot or whatever. You kind of see it playing itself out already.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was wondering about with the initial theory crafting on this, is if there's going to be some really awesome like speed farming builds.
Oh, I'm sure, man.
We're not thinking, like Harrington Wasteguard plus Boon of the Hoarder plus Avarice Band, that kind of thing.
This is going to open up a lot, man. Like a lot of stuff. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be the best of the best, but you're going to have there's little tweaks on sets and builds and stuff now, but you're going to see that even more with this kind of implementation. I'm excited.
And it's really going to help it on your way gearing up, because, when you start the season, you're not T6 right away, and so depending on what you find, you're going to be able to utilize that a lot more on your way up. That's going to help.
The thing that's really cool about it, too, is, dude, think about this, and you're actually, things you're saying, Aahz, is making me have epiphanies, but, you find a level 62 furnace, put it in your damn cube, and use the first ancient sever or whatever it is you find. You've still got the damage and you're getting the bonus. So, I mean, you can kind of mitigate not having the item that you want, or if you get a crappy roll on item that you want, by using it in the cube and using a better weapon, with damage. This is going to be a really cool system. I want to play with it.
Assuming that the cube lets you use sub-max level gear, etc. We don't know all the details yet.
That's true, too. I didn't think about that. I would imagine it would.
They said they had a whole theory they were going to make you be able to upscale gear. You could upscale it to max level, but they said they took that out because it was, unforeseen complications.
Well, a lot of the recipes look really interesting. There's a lot of interesting strings in this patch. I just want to get in and touch it.
Well, and see what's actually live and what's not. Just they're testing stuff.
You may have to max level to go into the Ruins of Sescheron. That may be the way that they keep you from, cubing up level 47 furnaces.
Well, I haven't heard anybody talking about there's one of the strings in it. Now, mind you, it's a string it doesn't necessarily have to make it to live. It could not even make it to the PTR, but it says open portal to Greed's Realm, open portal to not a cow level, the ability to just open doors to those zones. What? I need that fleshed out in detail, because that's awesome. That's really cool. I don't know. This is just really exciting stuff, man.
So another related topic about the Kanai's Cube is people were pointing out that this could be the way they could enable shared legendary gems across your account. So instead of having to have these physical objects clogging up your stash space, you would just enable one, in a right-click interface or something, and say, okay, or else they could be like crafting recipes where you just sort of print out, all you wanted.
Right.
And for people who like Aahz making two different Crusaders for different gear. I mean, people have long said, can we get specs? Like they have the PvP specs in WoW.
I
where
would
you can just click
that.
a button and you immediately change your whole character's specs. You change all their skills and all their gear to a different build instead of all the right-clicking and having to change your skills around.
I have
could we get the same thing with legendary gems? So you don't have to keep shifting your Boon of the Hoarder back and forth or whatever, right?
Yeah. Definitely. I have 4 wildebeest gizzards level 41 somewhere in my stash or on one character or another. Because I'm lazy and I wanted to let me just right-click that ring and use it for this mode. Now I got to take out that gem. Nah, I can't be bothered with that. So I would just go up and level another one.
Yeah, I did the same thing for my wizard too. I usually do in a season, but I actually got to it a little earlier this time.
So yeah.
So some of the people complaining about that were saying it's too easy for hardcore. Then you will no longer lose your best gems if you die,
which makes it even easier. I mean, at least a step easier.
Yeah, but
you don't play hardcore, dude. Shut up.
Okay, yeah, right. But still, though, that's the 90. You losing your gear and your gems is the biggest pain of dying in hardcore, right? So if you remove gems, now it's just gear, which still sucks. But that's
see
a big
gems as a big deal. It takes you a little time, but you're going to find it the next time you run a rift, and then you just have to level it. I don't know. I don't see that the gems is a big deal. Now, ancient weapons, ancient armor, that is a big deal, and that does.
I don't know. You lose a level 62 Zaystone of Vengeance. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I've never been in that type of stratosphere in hardcore, so.
Yeah.
So why don't you level up a spare Zay's gem? Of course, you're not going to lose it softcore, so why would you care?
Right,
Crusader.
exactly.
And not a real Crusader weapon.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. Sorry, wizard guy here. My bad.
I mean, I just died recently with my Demon Hunter, and I had a spare Tegooks and Zays and other stuff. Like at 40. The ones I was using were like 45 or 46 or something.
Well, yeah, you can always prepare.
So they were slightly lower, but it wasn't a big difference,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not saying it's just that that's you frequently. I mean, I have a lot of friends that play hardcore, and a lot of people in all of the podcasting Diablo verse play hardcore, and that's 95% of what you hear of the gripe when you die. No one cares about the level. That takes 5 seconds to do. It's always the gear and it's always the legendary gems. That would be a huge buff to hardcore players, they're not having to level their legendary gems. But obviously, that's all speculation because that's not in that we know of.
Not yet. So would either of you object to shared legendary gems? I mean, I just see them as a nuisance right now. I wish they were in an interface.
Yeah,
I wish they were like passive skills, kind of. You know?
It's hard because there's the nostalgia and the idea of having items in your inventory, and that is important, right? But in reality, it would be so much easier. It'd be so much easier and more streamlined.
I'm all for anything that gives me more stash space. I'm already starting to dread this season ending mash down to 1. Ugh, I hate it. Inventory Tetris.
Yes.
You could just delete all your era characters and just save your season stuff.
I know.
It's all better anyway, right?
I know.
At least for the Crusader stuff.
If I weren't such a hoarder, I could probably talk myself into that.
No, and that's something too. Actually, I saw in the past preview they said that this is supposed to this will kind of help with people that keep those legendary items that have those cool affixes and stuff. It's like, dude, I'm still gonna keep them. Like, I'm gonna have this crappy legendary in my inventory with this really cool affix, and if I find a better one, I will disenchant that one into my cube and then just keep the better one just in case I still want to use it or something later. You know, so that won't really. I don't feel like that's gonna change that. I mean, there are some items you'll probably just dump now and won't keep, but I don't see that completely fixing that problem.
I mean, if you find like a non-ancient weapon that's got a great mod, you're not going to save that. You're just going to, dump it to get the mod available.
See, I do though, and that's because I do so much PTR testing. I keep everything. I keep like one of each affix. Like I have
You have stash space anyway. You can only play one character.
Well, this is true.
Once again, outsmarted by Aaron outsmarting. So the opposite side of this coin is people have been advocating a little bit for like a hypothetical purist hardcore mode. No shared legendary gems, no shared paragon points, no shared stash, etc. As we were just talking about, it's gotten so easy. The only thing you lose is ancient gear. You've got spare non-ancient gear and gems. Would you be? I'm not saying it's mandatory, but would you be interested in playing like a hardcore, Ironborn hardcore or something like that, where you can't share anything, and if you die, everything you ever have is gone forever?
Not interested.
Well, you never die, though. Why would you care? You have this anyway.
No, that's me. That's Aahz saying not interested.
Yeah, I know. That's my point. You're so good, you never die. That's why you're GR57 with a Crusader.
I don't even want to, last season, Xanth said, hey, let's all not take the death cheating passive. So I killed 3 wizards in the first 2 weeks doing that.
That's why you don't listen to Xanth, dude.
And then he went right to the PTR. Yeah, I know. So anyway, no, I'm not. You are going to lose some greater rift levels once you get up there with the ancient weapons and the gear. So it is a risk, and that's enough for me in hardcore. I don't want to have to redo the whole season again if I die in the same season. Not interested.
I have one word for you though, dude. E-peen.
E-peen.
That 2 word. E-peen. It's going to be like E-peen. I'm at Paragon 370 in purist hardcore, and you're just a goddamn filthy casual.
Yeah, because then hardcore becomes the new casual.
Yeah, hardcore already is getting pretty casual. I mean, that was Xanth's whole column last week, right?
Well, that's what I said on the podcast
you
last time.
You can re-gear in 45 seconds.
But he was just trying to get back to T6.
Yeah, well, he's a filthy casual. We already established that.
Greater Rift 45. That's a lot different.
Oh, because you're in Greater 45, so it's different when you do it.
25 versus 25. That's 20 extra Greater Rift levels. The gear to do that is a lot.
But it's only T7, though. It's only 1 Torment level, as far as we know.
As far as we know.
So no interest in Purist. Would you dabble in Purist hardcore mode if it existed? Other person, NRDWRDS? I mean, you don't play hardcore, but you said in the past...
At the risk of being ripped to shreds by the hardcore community, from someone who does not play hardcore in Diablo 3, I don't... To me, hardcore is just a fresh start. I get really bored one day, and there's no more content coming out, and it's years after the game's out. I can start in hardcore and start completely over. That's what hardcore is for me right now. If it had that kind of a setting, I still wouldn't play it because I'm having just as much fun playing softcore right now. But I feel like I would be more prone for that because that's been something I've always said too. Is that I played hardcore in Diablo 2, and it felt very different than it did in Diablo 3. I played it in vanilla Diablo 3, and I just it wasn't worth it to me in this game.
It's not hard enough anymore?
It wasn't hard enough. It's not that. It just wasn't. It didn't give me in Diablo 2 when you were a 94 hardcore sorceress, Jesus, that was a thing, right? But I don't know. It just doesn't feel that it doesn't feel that good in this game to me. I don't know. It's not that it's bad or that the playstyle is bad. It's awesome for like the people that want to play it. I'm having fun playing softcore, so I don't care. I don't need it.
But so you're not interested in the super purist mode though? Something like that you would be interested in that because that's as hard as D2 was.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like if my Paragon 571 wizard could die and lose those Paragon levels completely, that would be, as somebody who, like if I was in the mindset of wanting to play hardcore, I feel like that would pull me more in towards it, because if I was wanting to play hardcore that badly, I would want that kind of penalty, I guess, because it's kind of a masochistic like way to look at it anyways if you're playing hardcore.
And you're gigantic EP, of course.
I mean, I guess, but is that what you do at 4 Flux?
Yes. I can't play the simmer with my EP anymore. I'm afraid I would totally play that if it existed.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I probably would.
Honestly, I had level 90 hardcores die in Diablo 2, so I know what it's like.
Right, yeah. It sucks. I mean, even just dying in softcore, that sucked in Diablo 2 because you lost so much experience. So it's like, there were actual death penalties in that game. So it's, I don't know, in Diablo 3, like it takes very little time to get to max level. You got to get the gear back, and that does suck. And that, especially if you've got those really good rolls. But, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel the same to me.
I say this fully remembering that our main complaint about D3V hardcore was that you got or even Paragon points. You felt like you had to play the same character forever because they got a really high Paragon level and you couldn't share.
See, I didn't have that problem, but again, I only play one class ever, so that's another part of it. Like I'm also, like I said, I'm not somebody to ask this question to because it's not my my.
Yeah, so go ahead, Az. You were going to jump in there.
I was just saying that in Diablo 2, I think you felt a more attachment to the character itself, and that's why losing it hurt because you spent that time, you'd done the skill tree planning, and then you went up the skill trees, and then if you lost that character, it was gone. With the respec system in D3, you don't feel as much attachment to the character. So heck, my season 3 guy is just SIIICRU because who cares? I'm going to delete the guy anyway after the season.
Yeah. See, so.
Yeah. And of course, we all complained about that, and we couldn't switch it around. And they did put respecs in Diablo 3 and Diablo 2, but after we all quit playing it, so who cares? I
wish Paragon levels weren't account-wide anyways, even in softcore. I wish, like, the character you played the most...
It's just the man who plays one character.
I know, but... It's
not self-serving in any way, dude, right?
Well, I mean, I guess it is, but...
How about if only Wizards had Paragon points, and everyone else just had to pound sand? Would that be cool?
Yeah, that sounds good, actually. That's
a pretty good feature.
Perfect, actually. I like that.
So, slightly related topic we were kind of getting into, they mentioned that they're redoing the Infernal Machine, and that the Keywordens are going to become, MachineWardens now? Can we change their name?
There you go.
They're MWs instead of KWs. But they're going to drop the Infernal Machines directly at some drop rate yet to be announced. And the Hellfire Amulet's going to come with a guaranteed socket. So when I was posting that, I was looking at some of the older posts about, we've been mentioning this forever. We did a whole workshop thing about 2 months ago, and those were like the 2 leading suggestions, was make them drop more keys or easier or directly drop machines and put a socket in the ring were like the 2 leading suggestions. So obviously Blizzard just took this whole thing from our post, of course. But the funnier part, there was a post from last June. They did some like tavern talk. And on that they're like, yeah, we're reworking the Infernal Machine system. We're going to make it easier to do in some better ways. So it took them 14 months to add a socket to the Hellfire Amulet and drop more keys at once. That's why they're the best designers in the industry, right?
Well, and along the same lines, how long have we been saying all you need to do to fix the trials is a drop-down menu? Mm-hmm. So, hey, finally, we're getting a drop-down menu.
Yeah, all you're telling me, Flux, is that they're listening to the community, so I'm fine with that, whatever. It took 14 months, but whatever.
They're listening to us echoing through a canyon, apparently. It takes a while to hear it.
Yeah.
A modder could have put in these these Infernal Machine fixes like last July, if we had Diablo 3 modding available.
It's the opposite of
maybe there's a whole different system, we just don't know it yet, right? But from what they've announced, it sounds kind of like a very small change.
They probably, being somebody who's covered Blizzard and gaming for such a long time, that like content patches are released like for a reason on time, like on certain times. Like they gate this stuff to give us more playtime in the game so they can get whatever they've got next ready.
It's the opposite.
And it's all tying into the Diablo 3 expansion number 2 announcement coming at Gamescom.
That would be cool, but either way, this is awesome enough right now.
Yeah, for the 10th time, as you started talking, I cut you off.
Sorry, I was saying it's the opposite of that movie where the guy's talking to himself in the past. We're talking to the Blizzard developers in the future. Drop-down menu.
Drop-down menu.
Oh, yeah. 14 months later, they hear us.
And, of course, they could have just enabled, you can do 10 keys at a time, like 3 patches ago, and people wouldn't have been complaining about waves because it takes you, 1 minute to get 10 keys instead of, a minute and a half to get each key. But that would have not been elegant or complicated enough.
Yeah, and so we get the socket for the Hellfire Amulet. I mean, that's something. It's definitely helpful. But
how about why not the ring too? I mean, no one uses the Hellfire ring, but I mean,
good point.
Given that actually can literally never be a BIS item, no matter what you get on it. Given how many good stats and legendary properties there are on other rings, at least give it a socket. How about 2 sockets? Probably not. That's too much. Be like one of those ugly Super Bowl rings they get with like 47 diamonds crammed on it. It just looks horrible.
Then you got a 4th legendary gem. Now we're talking.
Yeah, there we go. You can add an extra socket with your... So Kanai's set, you can add a legendary property or a socket to one of your amulets. What do you take?
Ooh.
Is it better to have another socket via... Probably, I don't know. So basically you're saying you can have any legendary jewelry socket or an extra legendary gem.
If you could work in another multiplicative gem, you'd probably take that. But if you're already using like Bane of the Trapton's Eyes, it probably wouldn't matter. You'd probably take the property.
Property, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the build. Some builds, it's hard to find that many gems you even need, and some builds you could use like 6 gems, so who knows. So the last thing I have in my notes is the whole data mining and the patch stuff and item set changes. You mentioned a little bit of the changes to the Crusader set earlier. So why don't you go ahead here, Aahz, since you're suffering through a Crusader this season for some masochistic reason, and you're number 101 on the leaderboard with GR21 because nobody plays Crusaders. So there's a couple of listings. Obviously, as always, data mining of any item thing is subject to change on the PTR. It usually does change. They did many changes. I remember last patch, like Nat's set was like awesome, and then it sucked, then it was awesome, then it sucked, and then it was awesome at the very end. So these things do change around a lot in the testing. And of course, Barbarians were absolutely, 500% damage from the 6-piece initially? And then it went to 100%, and they're still bitching about the goddamn Vortex Bracer, so PTR stuff can change. But did you look at the new Crusader changes, and would that change your Crusader build, and if are you going to Crusader next season?
Man, I looked through all of the data mining like 10 times, and I still didn't see the Invoker reworked. But no, it looks like they're going to try to bring back Hammerdens in the new set.
Yeah, I don't think the Thorn set's coming back, dude. Just accept it.
So no, it looks like you'll rotate Falling Sword, and then your main damage will be from your hammers, and that looks interesting. It is kind of a throwback to D2 as well.
That's it. I had more space to talk there.
So yeah,
so list
the
what it
Falling
does.
Sword is going to be the 50% damage reduction. So you're going to try to kind of jump into a pack, get the 50% damage reduction, but then basically you're going to be spamming hammers, and
so the 2-piece bonus, every Blessed Hammer hits drops the cooldown of Falling Sword.
Right.
And Provoke. The 4 pieces, you take less damage after you do Falling Sword, and 6 pieces increase the damage of Blessed Hammer by tons, 750%, and Falling Sword by 250. So the theory, it's like you'll just bomb into the pack with Falling Sword, then you'll spam Blessed Hammers, which will take away your cooldowns completely.
Yeah.
This sounds very much like the Natalia set in some ways.
Yeah, and I'm guessing maybe attack speed will be important, and then you'll use Provoke to recoup your Wrath, so you can keep the hammers going out there. And I think I read something about maybe an item that will, if you hit, your hammers hit like 1 target or 3 or less or something, that you get the Wrath reduction or something. So
that's your Guardian skill.
Yeah. There you go.
So that was the other question. So what a Guardian, you just sit next to it and spam hammers, and then you drop another Falling Sword on top of him. What is the cooldown of Falling Sword without any, currently, like 30 seconds?
I haven't used it. I haven't even used it this season. I have no idea. Yeah, 30 seconds.
I think it's 30 or 60.
And you're so very, very similar to Reign of Vengeance, which has a 30-second cooldown, but you can make it about a 2.5-second cooldown if you have a lot of gear with Natalia's set now, or 3 or 4 seconds at worst. So you might be cutting that by, a factor of 10. You might be doing a Falling Sword every 4 or 5 seconds.
That's crazy.
Which would be pretty fun, apparently.
Yeah, well, it's a cool-looking skill.
The key thing will be get it to 8 seconds or less, because that's how long that damage reduction lasts. Yeah, it's 30 seconds base right now.
So probably they will make it so you can basically have the full-time damage reduction and do that every 8 or 10, 6 seconds. And obviously there's a lot of CDR gear in the game now, so...
Yep. And
Blessed Hammers go out pretty fast.
Ooh, man.
There's a lot of enemies with them.
Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac would work really well with that, because Blessed Hammer is also a spender.
It could be. The tricky part with the Aahz with Crusaders is there's so many cooldown reductions that you might be having it reduce one that you don't really care about instead of, Akarat's champion, hey, could you just reduce that every time? Yeah. So you have to get really specific in your build.
Consider getting extra pony time. No one wants that. Unless you had gay marriage last weekend.
Everybody wants pony time.
Unless you had gay marriage.
They just last for a weekend.
Did anyone have gay marriage last week?
Jay Wilson did. I told you. I told you. Jay and I have only consummated our love.
Oh, that's good. That's a good sentence.
Cheeseburgers.
Name your kid Jay Dalla.
Because we already have. It's in the game right now. So, any exciting for you on the data mining of the set stuff for I guess Wizards or Wizards?
Dude, so much. Actually, I'm more excited for some of the other class things, but
you don't play other classes. What do you care?
Well, I know the Wizard stuff's cool, but okay, I'm kind of torn. Like, JH and a lot of the top Wizards have been pulling for Archon to get a rework for a long time, and they're reworking the Veer set, which looks really, really cool. The problem is that I spent about 1,000 or 2 hours playing Archon in vanilla Diablo, so I kind of don't want to go back to playing Archon. So I'm kind of mixed opinions about it. Like, I think it's cool, and I want Archon to be powerful because it's like the worst long cooldown in the game right now. I want to say you've got the Crusader's got Akarats, the Barbarian has the freaking Berserker, and Wizards Archon is so bad compared to that. The one thing that they're still not addressing though is that they've got to add in, because when you switch to Archon, you get a whole new skill bar. Like there's a spot on the bar that's not being used unless you take... No, it's not being used at all. Like, they need to add in another skill.
And you have various skills. You have teleport, and you have that one melee thing.
Right, yeah, because it's going to unlock all the runes. So you're going to have, teleport, slow time, and then you're going to have the melee, and then the AoE. But there's a fifth spot, a skill slot that you have open that you can't use that they should add a skill to. That would be cool. If they had an item that did that. Gave, Archon Black Hole or something. That'd be pretty cool. But...
I've seen this thing about the Archon stacks. Does anybody know how those are going to work?
Yeah, the Archon stacks are what give you damage. The longer, so basically 50. I don't know what the percentage is, but I know it's going to be a ridiculous amount of damage. It's just a matter. The problem with Archon has never been. I mean, well, damage is part of the problem especially at high difficulties. But the bigger part of Archon was uptime. They fixed a lot of that with all the cooldown reduction stuff they added in. So now this set will hopefully address the damage aspect of it, which will be really cool. And there's going to be a lot of people that'll run it. It'll be, I think, cooler to see how it mixes in with other sets. There's a lot of Veer Rasha sets coming out right now that are the Tal Rasha set mixed with the Archon set, which could be really interesting, like a Rainbow Archon. Back to that gay marriage thing. But it'll be interesting either way. The coolest part, or probably the most basic and awesome upgrade for the Wizard was the Unstable Anomaly change. Our cheat death, as Aahz said earlier, is god awful.
Which no longer sucks, right?
Right. It was so bad. It was so bad. And I mean, we use it. I mean, even in softcore when you're doing greater rifts, it's pretty much mandatory. I mean, at least for the most part. And Unstable Anomaly now, when you receive fatal damage, you will gain a shield, or you instead gain a shield equal to 300% of your maximum life for 3 seconds, as opposed to just gaining 45% life instantly. And then you release a shockwave that knocks the enemies back and stuns them instead of just slowing them. So it's going to not only give you, a ton of, damage reduction, a shield that blocks it for 5 seconds, but you're also going to stop enemies from attacking you for 3 seconds. That's a big upgrade for it. So that'll be cool. But the most exciting, or the coolest thing for me is this Witch Doctor stuff, man. The new set sounds really... All the sets in the game are kind of buff this skill, give more defense if you do this thing, and buff this skill, right? But this is a whole different level of set. It's just a cool idea for those that haven't...
Can you pronounce the name of the set?
Hang on, let me pull. Let me see the name. Hang on. It's...
Spirit of Akchkar.
I would say a spirit of Arakir.
Arachyr. That's actually the name of their new community manager, by the way.
I don't know.
Because there are always lots of consonants that you can't pronounce and vowels.
Yes, yeah.
So the two-piece summons a permanent Spider Queen, which makes me think of a Guns N' Roses song back in the old days. Here I am, I'm a Spider Queen. I'm going to beat too much and I'm going to last forever. Blah, blah. And then Slash takes off.
Yep.
Who leaves behind webs that deal some weird unknown multiplier of weapon damage, because no one can tell what the string says, over 5 seconds and slows enemies. The Spider Queen! Da-da-da! Sorry, play that on the credits. It moves wherever you cast it. So yeah, so it does cool stuff with spiders and toads of hugeness and the other giant thing, right?
Yeah, it makes it to where
I only use Bogadile with this, and it can eat everything.
Here's the thing, though, is that Oh, man, that's a cool set, but that's not even the Helltooth harness. Like, that's what I'm talking about. That's cool, but then the Helltooth harness, like, they completely changed Wall of Zombies. They did exactly what they said they were going to do. They liked the way the Heroes of the Storm team did Wall of Zombies for the Witch Doctor and Heroes of the Storm, so they changed it now to where Wall of Zombies is now Wall of Death, and it creates, well, it's still a wall of zombies that does damage, but now it does 800% damage as opposed to 200. But the first, like, rune on it, where is it at right here? Yeah, surrounded by death.
500 damage for 10 seconds?
Yeah, well, no, it raises a circle of zombies from a circle that traps and attacks nearby enemies for 1,000% weapon damage, which is literally the way it is in Heroes. And it's a big-time skill in Heroes of the Storm because it immobilizes. But the two-piece for Helltooth now makes it to where's that? Enemies hit by Wall of Death are afflicted by necrosis, becoming slowed and taking 2,500% weapon damage every second for 10 seconds. Jesus Christ, that's 250%.
That's a lot.
Dude, that's ridiculous. So
25,000% weapon damage over the course of it.
Now you drop a circle of zombies that are doing that much damage to a Rift Guardian, dear God. Like Witch Doctors just got really good, I mean, at least in theory, at killing Rift Guardians. And that's only the 2-piece set. The 4-piece says after applying necrosis to an enemy, you take 50% reduced damage for 10 seconds. The 6-piece, enemies afflicted by necrosis take 800% increased damage from your primary skills, including Acid Cloud, Fire Bat, Zombie Charger, Grasp of the Dead, Piranhas, and Wall of Death. Like, geez, dude, like there's a lot of damage in that. Now, obviously, these are, pre-PTR numbers. They're going to be tweaked. They're going to be, modified and stuff like that. But just that, like...
This will all be 100% when the patch goes
right,
live.
Yeah, exactly. But reading this right now, that sounds really... Like, I want to get in and play a Witch Doctor on the PTR, at least to try that out, because that sounds really cool.
Yeah, the Helltooth looks more interesting to me. The new one, the Total Hugeness, that's the one that takes, like, an elite out of the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't hit it. I don't think that's going to be very popular in multiplayer. It might be an okay set by yourself, but...
Yeah, it sounds like a good solo set, yeah, exactly.
Even by yourself, it's annoying. I've tried using that, and you just spits it out again, and it's like it's 10% of his hit points are gone. You wait 4 seconds for it to come back.
But as an oh shit button where you take 40% reduced damage, that's for the whole life that it's out. Jesus, that's a unity for however long he's alive.
It'd be nice if it just sort of like wrapped its tongue around it and left it sitting there like a cheerleader, and that way you could still like do stuff to it. Other people can still hit it.
Wow.
Like it would just be immobilized. It's annoying when it vanishes entirely and you can't do when you just sort of everyone just stands around for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Could your toad please spit it out again? You go, sorry, it's a cheerleader. It doesn't spit. It only swallows.
Oh my god.
And then it comes out again. You didn't date much in high school, did you, man?
Oh.
These are all true facts.
No, I did. It's just jeez.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, like
it's all a metaphor.
There's a lot of cool stuff in this patch. But again, we don't know what's going to go live. These are all strains in a data mine, so we'll see what's coming up. But I mean, we know that Helltooth was getting a rework, and just the initial. Now they changed Taurash's a lot from initial iteration. They changed all the sets a lot. But this one and that new Spirit of Arakir or whatever sound really, really cool, and I'm really interested to see because it kind of changes. Well, they've got to do some drastic things to the Witch Doctor, right? Like, their high greater rift paradigm has got to shift because their whole job in high greater rifts is non-existent now. So they've got to give a reasonable, like, replacement for that power loss or that control loss, I guess. And
as we mentioned, just the cube like doubles Witch Doctor damage. So
yeah, well, I mean,
before the new sets are available. So
right. So I don't know. It sounds really interesting. But I think the thing that's being understated the most, and this is just my nerd stuff, is the little lore connotations. Like we've had Zoltan Cool strains in data mining before, but some of this stuff looks really cool. Really, really cool. The stuff that Zoltan Cool sends you to do, supposedly the fact that he's related to the cube and sends you to go find the cube and how that even comes about. Not to mention some of the flavor text in the new items and there's some cool stuff. The Ruins of Sescheron stuff and it's almost like it's just a tease of an expansion almost. It's almost like it's not a full new story thing, which by the way I wanted to iterate on because you said that last week no one cared about the story. Yes, we absolutely do. We have to at least have it once.
No one cares about the story.
Nobody cares about the story.
When's the last time you played campaign mode, N3rdwards?
I told you, I played it right after the start of the season.
I played it tonight.
Yeah, I go through on the hardest on T6 and just run through it every now and then because it's fun. I mean, if you get burnt out on the game, it's good. It's good to go through and see the cinematics and stuff and listen to the banter. It's fun.
No, I was just doing pool reflection hunting. That's all I.
Oh, okay. I got you. I actually like going through it. So I don't do it often, but I usually do it at least once a season.
As often as you play a Witch Doctor, it's when you the campaign mode.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, of course, never happened.
Yes. No, I have a Witch Doctor, actually. Not this season, but from a couple seasons ago.
Well, you can roll them out again, except you're playing seasonal.
Well, I've got him for PTR testing. God damn it.
So I was talking to one of the community managers a couple days ago, chatting some in-game, and he or she was talking about, I'm like, why didn't you guys tease this more in advance? Why didn't you give us some warning that this giant preview was coming? And he or she was like, oh, we don't want to spoil surprises. We just want to let it go or whatever. I'm like, well, people are like gagging and dying for weeks with nothing happening. Just say in a week there's going to be an awesome patch preview coming out. You don't have to give any details because obviously details change, right? But I don't know. It's like I'm like, if only you worked in PR, you'd understand this stuff. Oh wait, your job title is public relations.
Yeah,
so I was like a little confused by that.
They could have given some maybe here's a hint and. Just kind of a slow trickle, of
like even on the chat last week with the artist guy, right? And we were all bitching that it was an artist guy instead of Wyatt Chang or whoever. And during the chat, Nevelissus was like, "Well, there might be some new stuff coming." And I did a whole news post about new stuff coming ... soon, in quotations. By the way, if you ever use soon in conversation in real life, do you find yourself like putting air quotes around it in your head? Like you've been corrupted by Blizzard's use of this word, so it no longer has any actual meaning?
Usually in real life, I'm talking about Blizzard, so, it's real air quotes. I'm actually doing that to, my friends. Blizzard says soon, quote-unquote.
Because, I was at work today, and someone asked something about one of the wine clubs that's coming out next. I was like, yeah, it's coming out pretty soon. I was like, oh, shit. No, I don't mean soon. I mean, it's coming out in 2.5 months. It's not a Blizzard soon, which is, between now and the heat death of the universe. I mean, it's whatever. But yeah, so that word has been corrupted in my mind. But anyway, so I was talking to the community manager about this stuff, and I said, well, you could have just, given me the information. I would have been teasing it all week, and it would have been an awesome build-up. And they were like, yeah. And then I said, well, so, by the way, I said, since you guys are working on stuff in advance, if you're not going to announce an expansion at Gamescom, start working on your excuses now, because a lot of people are really expecting it.
Yeah.
And the community manager said, I bet you can guess what he or she said. What would a community manager say to that when you ask about that expansion?
I have no idea. I'm excited to know, though.
We're really concentrating on patch 2.3 right now, and not thinking about everything. I'm like, that is such a crock of shit. Like, you're just going to decide, hey, should we do expansion in a month? I don't know. We can't think about that now. We have to worry about patch 2.3 now. It's like, oh, come on. You're thinking about it. I mean, obviously they weren't going to tell me,
Right, yeah, of course.
I was like, oh, man, they have trained you so well.
They got to figure that they're going to do something for Gamescom, whatever it is. I mean, they have to be thinking about what are we going to do there.
Yeah, they were thinking about that last year at this time, I mean, they build a whole booth, and they have a demo they're going to play. I mean, everything is obviously planned out months and months and months in advance. But I just they always say that when you ask Wyatt or whoever about new stuff, at BlizzCon, like, well, we're just concentrating on the next patch right now, and, who knows what's going to happen in 8 months from now. Maybe we'll all be dead by then. It's like we can only hope.
Yeah.
So, Flux, are you excited to play a 7-sided
No,
strike?
goddammit!
Monk?
Am I excited to play what? Toad of Hugis?
7-sided strike, Exploding Palm Monk. That's the other new set, right, for the Monk?
Yeah. Is the Monk still in the game? He is, right?
Didn't you play that through almost all vanilla?
Yeah, so the new Monk set is every time you click a button, everything on the screen explodes, and if you click 2 buttons, you go at 500% movement speed, and 3 buttons, you get an aura of death that kills everything on the entire rift at 1 click. Because they've been hearing complaints about too much CC Monk stuff. Is that how it works? I'm not reading it right now. It's pretty close to that, though, right?
Yeah, it's every third hit of your Spirit Generator applies Exploding Palm. 4-piece, your 7-sided strike deals its total damage with each hit, and 6-piece, your 7-sided strike detonates on your Exploding Palm.
So you have free Exploding Palm full time?
Yeah, sounds like it.
So every second you get a free Exploding Palm.
Yeah, and I've only attack.
What was the bracer? What was this bracer? Gungo gear? So if you have that with this, basically everything you ever hit in the game has Exploding Palm on, always. Everything within melee range.
Die.
And then your 7-sided strike does, 7,000% damage or something? It's some ridiculously high number. But it's over, 7 hits, or 9 hits with one of the runes. But now it's in every hit, so that's a 7 times damage buff on that one skill, during which you are, in fact, teleporting and immune during the casting of. And it also detonates Exploding Palm. I think that's a little underpowered, really. I thought my version was a little more balanced.
We'll have to see how it plays out.
Every single thing in the rift dies with the search as soon as you right-click. Yeah. So apparently Jay Wilson's back on the team and he loves monks now.
Well, it'll still probably struggle, and unless you have groups, like that still won't be a big single target set, but.
Yeah, if only there was a new difficulty level, you could really high difficulty really easily instead of having to just do it in greater rifts. Oh wait, you can always do T10 and always do greater rifts now. Yeah, I like how the limiting factor of Gungdo gear was it only works when monsters are really difficult and there's lots of them. Like otherwise, it's overpowered. It's underpowered against weaker things you can kill in one shot. But against big stuff, it's even better. It's like, well, that's a kind of a nice problem to have.
And I like what they're doing if they're going to take the Rift Guardian hit points down a little bit, because that is but to sit there and swing at something for 5 minutes, not very exciting, not very engaging gameplay.
Is that why you're not playing a barbarian?
I thought the barbarian just whirls around him, or don't they whirl like
for,
two screens away? I don't know. I haven't played the barb this season.
Who can blame you? Yeah, I was talking to somebody in the clan was going for trying to get to the 1,000 shard club, and he was in hardcore. He was doing a 49, I think, on the Guardian, and he's chatting in the middle of it. I'm like, I realize barbarians are boring when you're just spinning in a circle, but are you typing one-handed like you're on like a porn site at the same time? And he said, no, I hit pause, and then you can type messages while you're paused if you're playing solo, obviously.
Right.
I'm like, I liked my version of the story better, where you were actually typing with your left hand while spinning in endless circles with your right hand. So, how are your one-handed typing skills in Diablo 3, guys? Have you practiced this?
I try to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, not in hardcore. I'm not that.
I don't even play hardcore. I'm just lazy.
So, do you ever hit pause in the middle of a battle and start typing messages to people in your clan?
If people are being relentless,
you can type messages and read messages while you're paused. Otherwise, you can't do other stuff. But
if I'm in T6, I won't necessarily pause it. I might type out a few lines, but no, not if I'm in a greater.
If I'm in a greater rift, it's straight up like raid boss mode. I'm not engaging you until I'm done.
Yeah, I was even chatting with somebody today, and I even said like, "Hey, getting ready to go into a greater, so I'm going dark."
Yeah.
And of course, if you're using Tegooks, you can never type anything else.
Exactly.
Right.
So, exactly.
I mean, you can do it with Escape, but that's like the non-conversation gem. It's like, yeah, I'm not talking for the next 4 minutes. Sorry.
Man,
yeah. But it is funny that you can type messages, and he was but see, neither of you are playing a barbarian this season,
right?
And when in the barb, he was typing stuff. He's like, I'm at the Guardian. I have 7:14 to go. Can I make it? It's like, well,
okay,
you might
that's
as well take
just
a break.
Absurd.
Because you're just gonna spin in circles for the next 6.5 minutes, So you might as well do something, right?
Yeah. So you guys don't care about lore like at all? Like never read any of the novels or anything like that? Never cared?
I've read a couple of the novels because they bailed them to me years ago, but
okay.
I mean, I'll read it the first time through the game. I'll read the lore, but
yeah, I like getting the lore within the game. That's fine. Just like once, not
I got you.
over and over and over in story mode like before Reaper.
Well, there's a lot of this flavor text in this thing, and at the end of them, they say things like the tombs of creation, which leaves a lot of interesting questions for the lore. But God, I need somebody else to talk to about this.
You have to get 9ball back on the podcast.
I know, we got to do that because if it was...
I can just get a snack and come back.
Yeah, I know, right? It's. I want to know who is the author of the Tombs of Creation. I want to know what is inside of these Tombs of Creation. I need to know this now.
I'm guessing it's going to be Tyrael, and he's going to lecture you in the process.
I hope so.
Mortal,
my
you
favorite,
should never imagine the terror you have left onto us, blah, blah, blah.
My favorite string in the Datamining is in the item flavor text, there is a Lewis test dagger, and it's, in quotes, Blizzard QA is the best except for me, Lewis. Like, you can tell it's just a total test item from a developer just left in. It's just awesome. I love it.
You think how do you think it's a test item? You don't think it's
dude, I hope there's an item in the game that is called Lewis test dagger. Please,
is that any worse than the Murloc hit?
I mean, I'd take it, whatever.
Okay, do you guys have any other topics you want to get into here? That is it for my notes.
Hopefully PTR's up Tuesday and we'll have more information for everybody. Aside from that, nope, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what other details we get in the next few weeks. It's a great start. I mean, this is going to be really interesting. Really like the options it's going to give you for builds. So definitely excited to see more.
Okay, your final thoughts? We're ready for the PTR, and no one cares about the expansion anymore because we have a new shiny thing to stare at in front of us?
Not true. Still very excited about the expansion, but this will hold us over for a while.
Just like Blizzard community managers and N3rdwards, you are totally focused on patch 2.3 right now.
No, not true. I am really excited.
It wasn't true for them either, so I guess you are just like them.
Yes.
Exactly.
Go Crusaders.
Have you finalized your travel plans for Germany in August yet?
God, I wish. God, I wish.
You don't. Would you actually go if you get a free ticket?
I would go to Germany just to hang out. That'd be fun. But no, I mean, if I could get a ticket, I'd go.
Okay, you've been listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at DiabloGamers.com. Diablo.net. And hopefully PTR next week, and we'll probably have to do an emergency podcast on Wednesday or something again, like another goddamn PTR comes out and ruins all my plans.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, guys. Secret moo.
Moo, moo, moo. Moo, 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 moo.
Moo. Moo.